Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your real ID at tsa.gov/real ID. That's tsa.gov/real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
This is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
On today's episode, we are discussing Signed, Sealed, Delivered, To the Moon and Back, which originally premiered on the Hallmark Channel on Saturday, April 26th, and is currently streaming on Hallmark Plus. Come hang out with us on Instagram as you're listening to us. Follow us. We are Girls Gone Hallmark.
Hey, we have a great Facebook group if you are looking to find a group of like-minded people who want to chat about Hallmark movies. It's called Girls Gone Hallmark. It's in Facebook groups.
And we also love getting your emails, and we have a very exciting announcement to make for the first time on the podcast. So you can email us your thoughts, girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. Talk to us about what's going on with Hallmark, with these movies, your thoughts on our episodes. But for the first time ever, we are happy to announce that we have a voicemail. You can call us. Nobody will answer. I have it set in the back end to do not disturb, so it will not ring through to my phone, which it actually could, but don't worry, it won't. You can leave us a voicemail. It is 949-329-8090. That we'll leave in the show notes. It's also posted in our Instagram feed, so if you ever need to re-reference that, it's there. But thank you to everyone who has left voicemails so far. We will be playing those on our next listener mailbag episode.
When is that going to be? Are we trying for one next week? Maybe?
For sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have a bunch of voicemails to play. I'm very excited about it. And of course, only you and I would be like, don't worry, guys, nobody's going to pick up the phone because we don't want to talk to anybody.
No, I think it's someone pointed out that's a very millennial concern. You and I are not millennials. We're older than that. But, millennials don't like to talk on the phone.
I don't like to talk on the phone.
No, neither do I. I have to work myself up to it.
Me too.
We have just been conditioned. Growing up, my mom was like a talk on the phoner. She would talk to her friends. You knew, don't interrupt Mom when she's on the phone.
Yeah.
And in fact, can I tell you a story? When I was a child, I had the same recurring nightmare. I can envision it now. It was in my childhood home, and I was in the family room, and there was a cartoon bad guy in the stream riding on the back of a cartoon happy dragon, not a scary dragon. And I know, I'm sure someone could psychoanalyze me. And I was trying to get my mom's attention, but she was on the phone, and I would go to try and get my dad's attention, and he was asleep, and then I would wake up. And I had that dream over and over and over again. And no, I was not a neglected child. My parents were both very active in my life, but I can still envision that dream to this day.
I wonder what all that means.
I don't know.
I can tell you the phone was not allowed to ring at our house after 9 p.m. So if one of my friends called...
Big trouble?
Big trouble. Yeah.
My greatest childhood teenage coup was having my own phone line.
Same, girl.
And this is in the early days of call waiting. And my mom thought call waiting was incredibly rude. So what she did was she set up call forwarding from her phone line to mine, so that if she was on the phone, it would ring on my line and I had call waiting. Then I would sometimes have to get off the phone. That was the trade-off for having your own phone line.
Got it.
And I can vividly remember a bad report card would come home, and I'd come home and my phone would be unplugged and the report card would be in its...
Woof. Passive aggressive.
They were savage.
That is savage. That's some shit I would do now.
Isn't
I
it?
love it.
I do too. So before we jump into our thoughts on this episode of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, can we talk the hallmark of it all?
Sure.
There was a lot of chatter around this movie, or chatter about the lack thereof of chatter about this movie. So listeners may or may not have noticed, there was no promotion of this movie. There was no movie poster. There was no trailer. There was no commercial. There was no social media promotion officially. There was no official Facebook Live with the cast. None of that was done. This movie doesn't even exist on the press site. Inside Baseball. The actors individually did post about it on social media, as did the creator and writer of this show, Martha Williamson. And there was a lot of frustration from some diehard Signed, Sealed, Delivered fans.
What are your thoughts on that?
I am of two minds.
Let me hear.
I really love this series. It's a very special series. And so knowing that this is the last movie that has been created, who knows what the future of the series is, I want to see it promoted, especially a series that has existed over such a long period of time and there's such big gaps between the movies. I think it's nice to remind the viewers of what's coming. So as a fan, I'm sad that it didn't get that because I am such a big fan of the people involved. You know how much we love Kristen and Crystal. And from a business perspective, I do kind of understand Hallmark's decision to stick their head in the sand and avoid potential criticism from those who might not love them promoting a movie with a person who is currently in the public eye for some decisions that they may not agree with.
Right. So you can see both sides.
Yeah, like on a personal level, I'd be like, yeah, I'd stick my head in the sand too. I don't want to hear it. And Hallmark is so fiercely protective of their brand that it is 0% surprising to me that they made the choice.
Oh, 100%. I mean, yes, 0% surprising, but also a little like, what?
Yeah.
That's not even a promotional poster. Like,
Yeah.
Like doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Like if you go to search for it, again, Inside Baseball, if you go to search for it on the Hallmark press site, which I guess like content creators like ourselves have access to, it does not exist.
Right.
It is bizarre to me. But again, on the flip side, I guess I kind of understand.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see some of the speculation of the reasons why it was being done. To me, it's very clear there is no reason to speculate. I feel like I know exactly why they buried it. Some people tap danced so hard to try and find other reasons why Hallmark.
Like what?
People felt like, I saw a commentary that said Hallmark is now too diverse and this show is too wholesome for the network. I so strongly disagree with that.
Oh my God, the amount of eye rolling I just did.
It's, first of all, too diverse is a wild combination of words. And second of all, no, it's not. So what do you think about all this?
I feel disappointed because if I'm going to look at the franchise as a whole, I don't have high hopes that it's going to continue. And that makes me sad as a fan because I have such a special place in my heart for this series, especially after last year when we did like the full back-to-back all summer long.
Yeah.
You know, it is a special series.
Yeah, I agree.
They have done something really incredible. Martha Williamson is incredible. I really enjoy the actors and the cast and the crew and everybody who's put work into it. So it makes me kind of sad, like if this was it, that this is how we say goodbye to it. It makes me sad.
I agree.
It makes me sad. As of this morning, when we are recording this, our friends over at Deliver Me a Podcast on Instagram shared the live and same day viewers numbers for this movie.
Yeah.
Are you curious?
Very.
1.112 million.
That's big numbers for an April release.
It's 0.08 of the demo, number 11 top primetime telecasts.
For a movie that wasn't promoted at all.
0% promotion. They have a huge fan base.
A huge fan base. And a very
Obviously.
dedicated fan base.
Yes. And I did feel like some of the cast and crew, like you mentioned earlier, Martha Williamson put out a really nice video on Instagram. I've never heard her talk in
It was
real
very
life.
moving.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, you're like, oh, now I see how you were the person who created this masterful series.
Totally. And then Kristen Booth was like, had the weight of the movie on her shoulders, doing the hard work, promoting the hell out of it in the days leading up to it. So I'm not surprised by the 1.112 million live and same day viewers. That's
Big numbers.
Big numbers. I don't know how, as a network, you go, all right, bye.
Right.
I don't work for Hallmark, so I don't make those decisions.
Some people think we do, though.
Wow. Some of your emails and comments, you guys, we don't work for Hallmark. That's all.
Yep. A little later in this episode, I'd like to talk about our thoughts on the future of the series.
Okay.
But for now, let's talk news and notes.
Let's talk news and notes.
Actually, let's do a synopsis first.
Man, the synopsis goes, the Postables are given a letter found in a former nightclub that takes them on a trip to find the writer hiding from a troubled past. Meanwhile, Oliver learns more about his birth father while wrestling with his own approaching fatherhood.
Signed, Seal, Delivered to the Moon and Back was written by Martha Williamson and Brandy Harkonnen.
Linda Lisa Hayter returns as director. She had previously directed A Tale of Three Letters as well as The Vows We Have Made.
All of our Postables return. Eric Mabius, Kristen Booth, Crystal Lowe, and Jeff Gustafson.
Other familiar regulars include Gregory Harrison as Oliver's dad, Joe, Zach Santiago as Ramon, and Rhiannon Fish as coworker Charlie.
Natalie Sharp stars as Tracy in the film. With 37 acting credits, Natalie is no stranger to Hallmark fans, having appeared in projects like Wedding Season and A God Week Christmas. If you enjoyed her vocal performance in this movie, you're in luck. She shares plenty of singing videos on her YouTube channel.
Kelly O'Byrne plays Mom on the Run Camille. Kelly has 65 acting credits, including tons of work for Hallmark in movies like Love and Jane, Cut Color Murder, and an oldie but a goodie, Jingle Bell Run. God, I still love that movie. Jingle Bell Bride.
Gabrielle Hankey plays younger grown-up sister Amber. With just 7 acting credits, this is her first project for Hallmark.
Remy Marthaler plays 8-year-old Amber. Remy has 17 acting credits with roles in One Calls the Heart and the movie To All a Good Night. She's also tapped for a Peter Benson movie called A Royal Montana Christmas, currently in production per IMDb.
Shireen Haas plays Shane's doctor, Dr. Nichols. She has 46 acting credits and was last seen on Hallmark in Sugar Plummed.
According to IMDb, Sarah Ferguson, like the Duchess, is that correct? Was in this movie. I never saw her.
Neither did I.
She plays a bartender. I'm like, when were they even at, like, Ramones?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is you posted about this in our Facebook group and someone was like, oh, must be someone with the same name. And it's very clearly tagged as Sarah Ferguson, as in Fergie the Duchess. So who I am aware that she's divorced and may not actually still carry that title anymore. Nevertheless, that's who she is. That's how we're identifying her. I never saw her.
I never saw her either. And by the way, any Yahoo can like add anybody to an IMDb list. This has to just be like a wild mistake.
I'm sure.
Because when I asked, some of the Postables came back very defiantly that she did not appear in this movie.
They're paying close attention.
They're paying real close attention.
You may recall A Tale of Three Letters and To the Moon and Back were filmed back-to-back in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Production for both movies wrapped last year in May 2024. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back with our first impressions. Hey, Wendy, what was your first impression of To the Moon and Back?
Well, Hallmark thought Mystery 101 fans were mad about their cliffhanger. Wait till the Postables get a hold of this one.
Hide your children, hide your wives.
I mean, these folks have already generated a petition, so...
Well, let's talk about the cliffhanger in a minute.
Okay.
My first impression is a little bit milder, and I'm just so glad to be back among my friends.
Oh, I have some thoughts about that.
Okay.
But it's in the likes, so...
I mean, that is where my likes start.
Go ahead.
When I was watching this movie, when people talk about cozy movies, this is a cozy series for me. And I really thought after A Tale of Three Letters, where I felt like some of our Postables had lost their way. We were seeing sides of them that I didn't really feel were true to their characters. I felt like this is who they are. We're back. Everything about them felt like exactly who I expected them to be. And it was just so nice to spend time with them again.
I feel the same way, especially after last summer. If I was like I don't want to say casual viewer, but if I had watched this series over the last, like how many years it's been on, I'd be like, oh, great, another Seinfeld movie. But because we watched it all just sort of recently, these people feel like cozy family that I was like so happy to see again. And especially because we have talked to Crystal and Kristen on the podcast here, and they're like such lovely people. Like, it was just nice to see everybody. Like, I was like, oh, in my head, there's my friends on TV.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting at all for 1 minute that Kristen Booth and Crystal Lowe even remember my name or the name of the podcast that I'm on. So I don't think that they think I'm a friend, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, that is what this series does.
Yeah.
They make you feel like you are one of, that's why they have engendered such a huge fan base, such a devoted fan base, because we are not the only people that feel like that. You know, we've gotten to know, again, I'm not suggesting that Crystal Lowe thinks of us for 1 second outside of the time that she's on our podcast, but we've gotten to know her a little bit. I feel like I understand her as a human. And since that, you know, we met Rita first, then we met Crystal Lowe, the human, and now seeing her as Rita again, it's even more stunning to me how well she embodies this character of Rita.
Totally.
Who is really outside of Kristen's natural way of being. And it's just so fun to watch her just like settle right back into this person.
I was going to say like morph back into this person she is. I love Rita. And if anybody recalls my reviews from last summer, I went on kind of a journey with Rita.
Rita was a slow burn for you.
But I freaking love Rita. Yeah. Like, I love her. I'm like so excited for her while watching this movie. Like, she's expecting a baby and they are adopting a baby. And I'm thrilled.
I know.
I just love the character of Rita, and I love the character of Norman so much. Like, I wish these people like existed in my real life.
I know.
Like the characters.
You
know what I mean?
I know.
I sound like a deranged fan.
There's some great things to love about this movie. There's a lot of continued running bits through this movie, like some that are established in this movie and run throughout, and some that are established in the series. And one of those is Norman's foster care sibling, kind of the rotating door of them. And I'm glad we continued that. I thought the addition of Hans was perfect. It made perfect sense. They barely interact. Like, they see each other. It's like, hi, Norman. Hi, Hans. And they move on. But the way they wove it in, Joe's like, how many siblings does he have? And Oliver comments like, oh, myriad. And then we just see Hans come in and he fully gets Oliver's vision. I loved the addition of that character as opposed to just any old random schmo contractor.
Yeah.
Make it one of Norman's siblings.
Yeah, it doesn't like lend itself to the overall storytelling. Yeah, it totally works.
Like, my notes say that these through lines are what make this series feel like a warm hug to me. And I know that sounds like schmaltzy and cheesy, and I'm not sorry, because that is how this series feels to me.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because some of the criticism I've seen since this movie premiered was that there wasn't enough emphasis on like the mystery part of the story, which, you know, like the letter they find and all that kind of stuff, right? And I have seen the Postable fans be like, this is what the entire series is about. It's about these four people. Like, the mystery part of it is secondary, totally. So even on IMDb,
and they told a complete story, in my opinion, with the mystery.
I agree. And I have a lot of wishes about that. And I know we'll get into it. But I think at the core, this series is about the four people.
Of course.
And their little like spin-offs of like who they are as people and their families and whatever. And that's what is so beautiful and endearing about this movie or, installment of this movie. Anyway.
I was recently looking at our episode where we interviewed Crystal Lowe, and one of the things she said is her goal as a director is to make you laugh and then to make you cry. And I think that is a good way to point out that this episode, this movie within the series, has some parts that really struck me as funny. Rita's bottomless appetite was just such like a light, funny way to mark time, to remind us of the pregnancy, for her and Shane to experience it in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because they're not like showing.
Yeah.
So it's a great reminder of like, oh, hey, this woman is pregnant. And it is kind of a funny stereotype of like this bottomless pit of wanting to eat everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they talk about going to the concert and she's like, oh, we have backstage passes. And Rita's like, oh, did you just hack into the Las Vegas ticketing system? Love it. Like Shane's character is very sweet and very warm and very kind. And then she's also this like kick-ass white hat hacker who's over here just like,
totally.
I love that.
I wish we could like get more into that.
I know. I feel like they walk a very careful line with that. Like they don't want to make her a criminal.
Yeah, because Oliver would send her ass to jail. We'll talk more about that.
Surprised that he doesn't have it more issue with it. And then our sweet Norman, when Ramon is trying to bring them mimosas and he's like, he just can't get the mimosa off the tray. And
oh my God,
like, sweeps them away. And he's like, I like mimosas.
So funny.
And then like his continued popping his head back in when they're trying to leave and they're late. And he's like, we're double parked. And he's like, honking. People are honking. I just love Norman.
Do you have any thoughts on Oliver?
Oliver's not funny to me in this movie, if that's what you're asking.
He doesn't play along with the bits. So you had mentioned, and I had completely forgotten about A Tale of Three Letters and how specifically Oliver was not his normal.
I actually think it was Shane who wasn't her normal self.
Was it?
A Tale of Three Letters, a lot of the conflict is like that Shane is thoughtless. Like she's leaving her stuff everywhere and she's a mess. And I'm like, that's not who we've ever known Shane to be. I feel like Oliver has always been his fastidious self.
Yes. But let me remind you. Oliver had an issue with Charlie in that last movie, and he was kind of mean to her at one point. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so out of pocket for him.
What was that about? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I don't remember the specifics. I just remember like he was kind of not nice.
My feeling about Oliver in this movie, Oliver felt like Oliver to me.
Oliver felt like Oliver-ish to me. He comes up a lot in my wishes.
Okay.
We'll get to him eventually.
Look, one of the funniest remarks is from our Facebook group where Wayne said if Oliver were any broodier, he would have been Batman. I just think that's who Oliver is. Oliver and Shane's relationship took so long to come to fruition that because Oliver had to just really brood over if he was the kind of person who could do this.
Oliver has so much baggage.
I know. Oliver took a very long time to believe himself worthy of being loved. Mm-hmm. And that did not go away when he and Shane got married.
Right.
And he's still carrying that baggage, as we see in his relationship with Joe in this episode.
I'm looking over our notes. I want you to talk about the absolutely best line of this episode.
I have a lot of thoughts on Oliver's conflict with Joe. Mm-hmm. But the best thing to come out of that was, it's actually one of my overall favorite experiences in this episode was that conflict. But when Shane says to Oliver, Harvey gave you life, but Joe gave you a life. And
I just got chills with you saying it right now. I got chills when I saw it originally in the movie tube and again right now.
But the special thing about it is during that scene, we flash on Joe walking through the attic where the Someday box was. But we see all of these boxes of like Oliver's life. It's like books and Halloween. I don't even remember what it is, but it's just little mementos that every family has of their child. And you're reminded that Joe has his hand over all of that.
Right.
Like Harvey had this little box, and that's nice and lovely. And that relationship is complicated and Harvey couldn't be in his life, but look who Joe was.
Right.
Yeah.
I love Gregory Harrison. I love him in this role as Joe. He is one of the like standout recurring characters to come from this franchise. I just really enjoy him so much.
So when Shane and Oliver get a call from their doctor, what were you expecting?
Bad news.
Yeah, me too. And I'm so glad it wasn't that. They're like, oh, Shane might have gestational diabetes. I'm like, all right. Not that I feel like if you're dealing with that, it's not an additional thing to contend with when pregnancy is already kind of fraught. But this is not an uncommon thing. This is a thing that women manage. Like, it is manageable with medication. Of course, there are additional complications. But I was glad that if they're going to introduce a complication to one of these pregnancies, you know, they talk about her geriatric pregnancy and they talk about the potential of additional risk. It was a light hand on it.
It was a light hand, but I did feel fearful, like almost the entire movie, and not because of like the potential of having gestational diabetes, but it was kind of earlier than that. They were like setting the tone where you have like Rita experiencing a different type of pregnancy than Shane. And I was like, is this going to end badly?
Yeah, because Martha's not afraid of difficult subjects.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm not trying to be like minimize how scary gestational diabetes can be or how dangerous, but I'm glad it was just that.
Yeah, for sure. And that is one of those things that like it goes away when the baby is born. So like if you can safely get to delivery, it's gone.
Right.
It is resolved when the pregnancy ends.
I do have some further thoughts about this particular storyline that has to do with Oliver. And did I just say particular twice? I have some additional thoughts about it, but it specifically has to do with Oliver, and it's going to be in the wishes.
Okay. I wasn't sure where to put this. What did you think about the we're expecting bit, the who's on first of it all?
Well, I saw a preview of it actually
me too.
several weeks ago, because if you didn't know, this movie did air in another country several weeks ago. So it was kind of like floating around out there.
It leaked a little bit.
Yeah. And when I saw it, I was so excited. I love that scene. I love Kristen and Crystal together. Please give me a spin-off show. Not a spin-off show, but give me like a whole new franchise with these two. I just love them so much.
Yeah.
And I thought they were very funny together. Did you hate it?
I thought no, I didn't hate it. I thought it walked a very fine line. We're expecting. There's 2 babies, there's 3 babies, there's 4 babies.
It's too much for you?
But when it ends and they look at each other and they say we're pregnant, like I like really liked that moment.
Of course.
We're pregnant. You didn't drink a mimosa?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was so obvious
Sure.
to the viewer here, but I love like how Norman was all confused and like, you know, it was cute.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people who hated it.
Let's talk wishes.
Okay. I'm just going to get into Oliver if I can. It was kind of interesting to see him kind of spin out over the possibility that Shane would be diagnosed with gestational diabetes. The man spun out. Like, he was like not himself, I thought. Brooding. He was like,
But was it
couldn't
about
handle
that,
it.
or was it about his letters?
It wasn't. It all led into the letters. It was interesting how they connected Martha essentially connected all those dots. He wasn't spinning out about Shane's potential of having diabetes, but it was interesting to make the connection of like, I don't know anything about my biological father. I only know Joe. It worked out well. It came together nicely for me. And so even though that sounds like what the wish was, I didn't enjoy Oliver's character moves.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to me. In the last movie, he was kind of like, in this movie, I thought he wasn't like the Oliver from early days.
Yeah. For me, I struggled with Oliver's behavior, his reaction to Joe over.
Yeah.
So the Someday box is a huge storyline.
Okay.
And I had a lot of thoughts. At first, when Joe gives him the box when they're about to leave on a road trip, I thought, well, that's very odd timing. I mean, it makes sense for the movie, it gives him something to do, but I just thought Joe would be more thoughtful than that. And then for Oliver to react in such a way, Oliver's such a thoughtful person, for him to not really think through what Joe's motivations might have been. I found it surprising when he was angry at Joe, when he took that anger and perhaps the sense of loss he was feeling about this is what could have been, this is the relationship I could have had that I never knew, and he turned it on Joe because Harvey's gone, I found it really unfair. I understood a little bit Oliver's feeling of frustration. Like, you had this my whole life and I never had access to it. But I also really understood Joe saying to him, look, I kind of forgot about it. Like, I put it up there because you were not ready. Like, we lost your mom, you weren't ready. And then he was like, I didn't want to compete with him. That man existed in a box of letters that he had time to prepare, and he never had to be a parent.
Right.
He never had to do any of the hard stuff. He never had to tell you no. He never had to walk you through life. And that was a standard that Joe couldn't live up to. And I fully got that.
Yeah, totally.
I thought that exploration of emotions between father and son was so well done. I think it's the best work in this movie.
Yeah, when they have that conversation sitting on the stairs, yeah, one of the best scenes. I'm not dogging on Oliver, guys, not by any means. It's just some of like his emotions don't make sense to me, and that's where the frustration comes from. But I agree with you. You know how like, have you seen the TikToks recently where it's like a daughter and a mom, or like a son and a mom, and it's like, I have to remember this is her first time going through this too. Yes. So I can like give Joe grace for that, because he's doing this all for the first time as well. Like, he doesn't have all the right answers. We have to stop expecting everybody to have the right answers all the time, or do the right things all the time. Anyway, okay.
All right, we need to talk about the arrest.
This is my other beef with Oliver. He felt very cold in terms of like turning this woman in. He's like, well, you broke a law. You got to go to jail for it.
Team Oliver here.
You're so black and white about this stuff. I know.
I'm not saying that would be easy, but yeah, to me, you got to turn her in. Now you're going to live with the guilt of knowing that you know where this woman is, and now you're harboring her innocence.
But it's kind of a harmless crime.
Yes, I don't disagree. And my hope is, like, in this magical world where this next movie that doesn't exist happens, like, the FBI is like, oh, well, she wasn't the perpetrator of this crime. Like, she was trying to protect her daughters. I get Oliver. She knew where he was. She knew he had committed this crime, and she never told anybody. Like, she just lived with this man. I don't question her decision-making, and I'm not saying I would have done anything differently, but send your emails to girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. Attention, Megan. I think you did the right thing. I sobbed in that scene.
Where they take her away,
where he walks her out to the she's
freaking
singing
perp walk. Give me a break. Like, I think there's a lot of things happening in our world that is like feeding into like my anger about this like storyline.
Sure, like, of course, why is the mom the one that has to go to jail? Like, it sucks. Where's the dad? He disappeared. Like,
he's
never
the one
saw
who
him
did
again.
the crime.
I know. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's fair.
And yeah, it just made me so mad. It just made me so mad. I wanted Oliver and Shane and Norman and Rita to like come up with some sort of solution.
Some magical sitcom solution that allows her to live in, but there was no solution that was ever going to allow her to live a public life with her daughter where she's not in hiding.
Oliver has a shit ton of money. He couldn't hire her a really good lawyer.
I mean, who's to say he doesn't?
He was like, bye. She was in freaking handcuffs. Was she in handcuffs? I can't remember. But, and then I also had a problem. The oldest daughter, the girl who sings, the songwriter. And we have in that opening scene, like, there's police like looking at people's IDs, right? She was a victim in this crime. Her father was the one who committed the crime. Yeah. She was a minor. Like, I get that they're trying, like, she feels fearful that they're trying to get to her mother, right? But, like, she was a victim in this crime.
Sure. It was unfair that she had to be on the run.
Yes, exactly. I didn't like that narrative.
But I think, well, I don't know that anybody was trying to paint her as a criminal, but I think she felt like her knowing where her mother was.
But for a long time, she didn't know where her mother was.
Yeah.
And she was still hiding.
Yeah.
That is, I just didn't, I don't know. This story felt a little untrue. I don't know. Like, how realistic is that story?
I don't know.
The entire time I'm watching it, I was like, would the mom and the daughters would have been like implicated in this crime? That's the entire thing I was thinking about the entire movie. Like, would they have?
Well, once he committed the crime and the mom knew that he committed the crime and now she's hiding him, but she's married. So, you can't be compelled to testify in court against your spouse. So is she compelled
Well, anything
to turn
goes
him
these
in?
days, so who knows?
Or is she like, would the law compel her to turn him in? I don't know. That's a good question.
Would you turn your husband in if he robbed the bank he worked for?
If he was an abusive POS like her husband was, who ruined their lives, perhaps. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about something lighter hearted, and that is, should this be the end of the series? I'm sorry. Okay, but it needs to be discussed.
No, there's one movie. There's one more movie. There's one more movie here.
Yeah, okay. I think there is one more movie here. I don't disagree with you. Do you think there needs to be more or should be more?
After this one?
After the one more movie that we're never going to get, let's be serious.
No, I think these four can ride off into the sunset, enjoy their happy lives with their children.
Yeah, I think we have 3 babies that we don't know the fate of.
Yeah,
And
I would kind of like to see that.
The one thing I like is everyone's kind of in a good place at the end of this movie. Other than we've just sent this woman to jail, like she's not in a great place. But
that doesn't affect these 4, though.
Yeah, I would like to see the outcome of these babies. I would like to, maybe the next one. I don't want to see because this movie picks up right where the last one left off, or a couple weeks later. I don't want to see a Rita and Shane still pregnant movie. I want all of our babies Earthside in this next movie.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy and we wrap it up. And people don't want to hear this, but I think we then move on. I love this series. I think it is incredibly special. And I also think all good things must come to an end.
I agree with that.
And I also don't think we need like a next generation of Postables.
I just shook my head. No, no, I don't think so either. I would love another series from Martha Williamson.
Yeah, I would watch the hell out of that. It should be mentioned, it is believed that there is a third movie idea or script out there. There is a petition to have it made. We'll link it in the show notes if you feel so compelled to sign it. My personal opinion is this is the last we're going to see of them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Mystery 101 ended, with a cliffhanger, right?
All right, what did you rate? Oh, no, it's time for Did You See That?
Yeah.
I have a couple.
I have one.
Let me hear it.
I had to Google, but it does take a drive from Denver to Vegas is a 10 to 12 hour drive. Mm-hmm. Why didn't they just fly there?
Because then they wouldn't have a chance to bring the quirky RV back.
They were like...
with its rattly sound effects.
They were like so trying, like, we have to get there by showtime. They wouldn't have made it by showtime. It was like the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just telling you, it's a 10 to 12 hour drive. And I don't even know if that includes stops at the dinosaur museum or wherever they...
Yeah, you're right, because they were leaving at 10 a.m. and the show was that night, right?
I mean, maybe you're going to make it like the Vegas 11 p.m. show. I don't know.
No, because they were seeing the early show, because remember they were talking to him between shows.
I thought it was also funny too. They're like looking out the window like these like wide-eyed, like, look, it's so beautiful. Is that how you feel when you go to Las Vegas? I'm just like, meh.
I mean, I think it's remarkable when you drive down the Vegas Strip for the first time.
Sure. Remember that one time we drove down the Vegas Strip and we were in the back of that car and it was so loud. The music was so loud. You were so angry.
I don't remember this at all. What were we even in Vegas for?
We were on a brand trip.
Oh. And I was angry?
We were being like chauffeured around from show to hotel, and the music in the car was like vibrating
Uber?
so hard.
Oh, we were being driven by one of our fellow brand trippers.
Yeah.
They're not Girls Gone Hallmark listeners.
No, I think he was in the front seat, but I think of one of the people that they had hired to drive people around. And the music was so loud. It was like, boom, boom, boom. You were so mad.
I get overstimulated very easily. That's the true statement. I don't like loud music in cars or anywhere, honestly.
What do you have for Did You See That?
2, first of all, when Oliver is reading the first letter from Harvey, the voiceover of him reading does not match the text on the page. There's a couple of different ways. Like
Nice
it says
catch.
like, he's like, oh, I fancy myself, but the line says like, consider myself. And I swear he talks about like his love of the post office, but it says something else. Anyway, it does not match. The other thing is they talk about the hotel, the Belisario, which is an obvious play on the Bellagio, which used to be like kind of like the height of Las Vegas luxury. And my brother was like, it's terrible now.
I'm sure.
I guess the guy who originally owned it sold it, and whoever owns it now. Like it used to be an MGM property and it isn't anymore. Or the other way around. Regardless, apparently it's not nice anymore.
I want to go to a hotel in Vegas that doesn't have a casino because I don't care. Also, it must have high-end food. And be
My
quiet.
favorite-
And no smoking. I'm no fun, guys.
Oh, my husband and son stayed, I thought it was the Park MGM doesn't have a casino, which is like
Yeah.
right.
I think that's where we stayed last summer.
Yeah. And it's no casino. So there's,
But it's attached to another hotel.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
access, but
my favorite Vegas hotel is the Encore. Their rooms are huge. Every room is like basically like a mini suite. And they have the best buffet at the Wynn, which is attached. The best buffet.
like seafood buffet. I love a seafood buffet.
They have seafood, but they have everything. They have everything. I haven't been to Vegas in years.
I just want to go for a buffet.
And the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere?
I have a quick story about the Sphere.
Okay. I think I would get motion sick, but okay.
That's where I'm headed. My parents were recently there because the Eagles played there. And my dad said the Sphere is so freaking cool, but they have a special room for people who get motion sick.
I believe it.
They have like a full protocol. I was like, that would be me.
I have seen videos. It looks really, really, really cool. The Backstreet Boys are playing this summer, and my husband and I have an affinity for boy bands. And every time we talk about it, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get car sick. My husband's like, you are so old. I'm like, I know, but wouldn't it ruin it if you're like,
Yeah, if you're like, I need to sit down and close my eyes. You'd be on the floor.
videos of it look honestly a little, talk about overstimulating.
Yeah, I don't know if that's for you.
I don't know if it is either.
I just saw a video of Andy Cohen at like a dead and Company
dancing with
Miles Teller. I was like, that looks like so much fun.
Yeah, if you have all that space that Andy and Miles have just taking up the aisles and nobody's going to say anything to them, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like they're having a great time.
Guys, who would you like to see at the Sphere in Las Vegas? Please email us.
Yeah,
It's going to be on a mailbag episode.
I already have to wear earplugs when I go to a concert. Can you imagine me? Have you seen those motion sickness glasses that people who
we
get
have
car sick?
We have a pair.
I would need that. And my loop earplugs. And then I'm here for a good time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've activated the dogs. What did you rate To the Moon and Back?
I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 4.25 stars.
Nice.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. You can leave reviews in the Apple Podcast app, even if that's not the app you use to listen to this podcast. If you can hear snorting in the background, it's the dogs, not Wendy. We'll be back with more Hallmark reviews. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.